Hey everybody, it's Larry Steinhouse, and this is the Larry Steinhouse Show. I'm continuing on my awesome day, and I've got another awesome guest. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my guest. My guest today, or my guest at this episode, is Andrew Frazier, and his areas of expertise include entrepreneurship, business startups, business funding, technology, operations, and more. As a trusted advisor, he has facilitated the growth of many startup and early-stage businesses. He can help them grow revenues and profitability, and he has arranged for growth capital. That's pretty cool. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. Mr. Frazier's prior experience in corporate America includes the investment management of an $82 billion portfolio for New York Life with responsibility for over 1,000 employees. Andrew has served as an advisory board member for the Rutgers Newark Small Business Development Center, as a board member for One Hawk Capital LLC, and for CALIBR. He has been involved with Urban Youth Action, the ELC and Development, and the ELC for Leadership and Development, and the Granville Academy. Wait, that's just like so much stuff, Andrew. Wow, how do you do it all?
Definitely keep busy. Enjoy what I do. Enjoy having a great time helping people.
So tell me a little bit about what you do exactly. So you're a business startup funding expert, or what would you actually really want to classify yourself as?
Okay, basically what I do is I coach, consult, and train entrepreneurs and business owners, and I focus on their business strategy and financial management, and I help them to grow their revenues, increase profitability, and obtain financing. So
it's kind of cool. So earlier we had the, I don't know if you were here or heard about, we had the SBA guy in here, somebody who does SBA financing. Mm-hmm. Do you help people with that too?
Yes.
Okay.
So I work.
So you would work with him, or you do it by yourself? Because it doesn't matter if you compete with him. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just curious to know how they would work. Would they work hand in hand?
Actually, I usually work with clients who are looking to get financing.
Okay.
And then I help them make sure that they have their strategy together, have their financials together, and have a winning package. So then when we go in, they already have what they need to be able to impress the lenders or the equity investors and make it a shorter, more successful process.
I like the idea that you're talking about equity investors, because that's a bigger piece. It's probably it's not probably harder. It's actually I'm always going to think it's easier. It's harder to get people to agree to it, but it's easier for people to do it. So we do this all the time. We borrow money from private investors all the time for real estate deals. Mm-hmm. And I hate banks. It's like, we want 2 years tax returns, we want this, we want that, we want a stack of paperwork, and I just get so frustrated by it. On the other side, I go to a private investor and I say, hey, I need to borrow $100,000. They go, okay, where do I bring it? So it's a lot easier. But the hard part is finding the private investor who's got the $100,000, which isn't that hard, but so I'm wondering in your case, and the private investor, just so you know, the private investor has to have faith in me that I'm going to pay it back.
Yes.
So it's easy for me to say, hey, listen, I'm attaching it to a piece of real estate that's worth $150,000. You're giving me $100,000. What do you have to lose? But how about in a new business? You go into I guess it would be a joint venture capitalist. Is that what you would find, or no?
A lot of times, most small businesses are funded through personal funds, friends, and family. Those are the key things. Finding an investor beyond that can be very difficult, but doable. But you really have to have an idea or a business that can grow to millions of dollars in a short period of time for an investor to be interested.
Well, so our business, Investor Schooling, has grown to $72 million in 4 months.
That's great.
I just wanted to know if you could find me money, that's all.
Oh. If you could do that and you still have a path to go, that would be no problem.
No, obviously we haven't done that one. Well, actually, we're pretty impressed with what we're doing. But no, I'm teasing. I just want to, anytime anybody has money to lend me or wants to talk to me about money or give me money, I'm like so excited. I want to figure out a way to get it.
Right. Yeah. But for real estate, it's a little easier because you have the asset, like you
Correct.
mentioned.
Right.
And so that makes a big difference.
Sure. So how do you feel that you're qualified to help these businesses?
Well, I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and small business owners over the years. In addition, I've been an entrepreneur. I've had many businesses starting in fourth grade.
You're like me. Yeah. So tell me about your fourth grade business. I just got to know.
In fourth grade, my brother and I ended up getting a paper route.
That's funny. That's exactly me too. I was the same exact thing. The paperwork. Were you any good at it?
We were great. We did it for 5 years.
I was horrible at it.
We actually, when I go home to Pittsburgh, My customers still remember me.
No kidding. Wow.
And-
My customers still remember me too. They're still waiting for the paper that didn't get delivered.
Well, that happens. We used to put it in the door every customer every day.
Wow, that's
So
great. Good for you. You got better tips that way, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, every once in a while, like, I didn't get a tip. I'm like, we didn't get a paper. I'm like, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
So what other cool businesses have you been involved in?
I've done real estate. So I've
cool.
invested in residential as well as
Nice.
mixed-use real estate. Also in college, I had a T-shirt and design business where I sold printed T-shirts as well as designed them.
That's cool. Wow.
Which was great. And I've done the insurance business.
All right. So you were doing graphics and T-shirts?
I had an artist who did the graphics.
Okay.
Sort of managed the business, and then I sold.
Oh, all right. Okay.
That's the
no,
most
I just want
important
because
job.
I knew a guy who was a friend of mine who was he was a graphical like a graphical designer, and I was going to ask you, but it went. You didn't answer the question. I thought he used to make fake IDs. So I was going to ask you if he made fake IDs.
None of that.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So somebody wants to start a new business, right? They brand new. I mean, it's so funny. I start a new business every week. Some people think, right? But if somebody wants to start a new business, what should they do? And what should they think about? How should they get started in starting a new business?
Quite a few things. There's a million things that go into it, but you have to think of it as you're starting a marriage. So if you don't want to go into it lightly, you want to make sure you have the right partner. You want to make sure that you and your partner are on the right team, and you're going to have to make sacrifices. I always tell people you're going to have to work harder and make less money for a while.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I the term work harder, I always hated that term because I find that like now.
Yes.
So I'm here all day, as you know. Right? I've been doing this since 9 o'clock this morning. I'll be doing it till 5:30. Last time I did it for 12 hours. I'm now working easier, I guess, right? But I don't find this work at all. I'm just having a blast. First of all, this isn't even a business. This is just fun for me.
Yes.
I do this for a bunch of people. I do it basically for favor for you, for the other people, just to be on the show. And at the same time, I get my name out there. So it's just fun for me. But I don't find anything I do. I hate the word work. Because work to me is a 4-letter word, right? That people say, I have to go to work. I'm like, I was having a conversation with my neighbor like the other day. It was the day after New Year's, or was it New Year's? I think it was New Year's Day. And she's pulling into her driveway, and I see her, and I say hi, and I go, and she goes, and I could see her, she's got a face, and I go, what's the matter? She goes, I got to go to work tomorrow. And the funny part was I turned to her, and I said, are you kidding? I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. I'm so bored at home. I can't stand being home. So a lot of entrepreneurs, I don't even find that a sacrifice. I think that's like that saves their mind by going to work all day or working hard, as you use that term.
Yeah. And you might even want to classify it as effort.
I like that better. I'm going to remember that. I like that a lot better.
You have to love what you do to be able to put that type of effort into it. And if you don't, there's no way that you can do it successfully.
All right. So what, and I see this all the time. Okay, I shouldn't. Not only do I see it all the time, but I've experienced it. What makes businesses fail?
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, the leader is key to the situation, and to be a good business leader and to help your business run, you have to be continually learning and educating you, and you need to be making the best decisions possible.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book, because you can't know enough things just on your own. So you have to learn a lot more about all areas of business, and you have to continue to develop and move yourself forward, because your organization can only go as far as you're prepared to take it.
And that's exactly, I have to agree with that. I've noticed, I believe in the concept, the 3 feet from goal concept. Are you a Napoleon Hill fan?
I like Napoleon.
Oh yeah,
Hill.
I'm a big Napoleon Hill fan. So I believe in the 3 feet from gold concept. In fact, I have felt that I have been 3 feet from gold in so many businesses that I've given up on, that it was a big mistake. And as a matter of fact, when I opened investor schooling, I said I will not give this up ever. It's either the only time I'm walking away from it is when somebody hands me a check for a minimum of $10 million, minimum. So that's the way I'm going to walk away from it. Right. I will not let it go bad. And it's funny, I actually find that now it's probably theoretically, the most successful business I've ever had.
Okay.
Because it's it came out of the gun, real fast, and it's continuing to grow. In fact, I don't know if you've been in our room upstairs.
Yes.
We fill the room every day. We have to find every week, and we have to find a bigger space now. Unfortunately, we own the space, and I got to find a bigger space. But I do want you to tell me a little bit about this book.
Okay.
So this book is, hold on, I got to change the screen. There we go. So it's called Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. All right, that's the name of your book, right?
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about it. The more you know, the faster you grow. And I find that funny because I just said that, didn't I, right? So I actually agree with you. I think I've learned so much from my failing businesses
Yes.
that I do know more. But so tell me a little bit about the book. Tell me why you wrote it. Tell me what's in it.
Okay. It's basically broken down into two parts. The first part is what you don't know will hurt you, because there's a lot of things you need to know in business, and if you don't know them, they will definitely hurt your situation. I laid out a path, basically the critical path for how you take your business from the beginning all the way up through becoming a sustainable enterprise that can run itself. And really what you're doing is, when you start your business, you're starting out initially working in your business, like Michael Gerber said, and you're working on the marketing, developing your products and services so that you can have a viable market for it. From there, you have to pivot to working on your business, and you have to become a manager. So initially, you're sort of like an employee, maybe supervisor. Each of those takes different skills. It takes a different skill to become a manager. So you have to continually learn and develop, because your organization is going to follow your progression. And so to work on your business, you're working on really developing your model, building capacity, and really setting yourself up to be able to grow significantly. And then finally, you're working on the future of your business. And that's when you're basically not a manager anymore. You need to be a leader of managers. And that's a whole different set of skills. But then that's where you expand your product line, expand into new markets, and that's when you really achieve significant growth. But that's a long path. Most people never in their life or career go from being an employee to a supervisor to being a manager to being a leader of managers. But as a small business owner, that's the path.
Wow. All right, so you take a business. Let's even use investor schooling. So Phil and I are partners.
Yes.
And we already know that we have to find more people to work for us. We already know that we cannot continue at the pace we're going, because we're going to have a limit of how we can grow.
Yes.
The other problem we have is we have a specific model that we have to teach someone, and the only way to teach that model is they have to, number one, have to know the knowledge of how to invest in real estate, how to invest in the stock market, how to invest in how to teach people financial literacy. But they also have to be able to run a business. Yes. They also have to be able to run marketing and bring people into the school. So that's a very difficult skill set, and the more and more I think about it, the more difficult it gets for me to be able to train somebody. I also believe wholeheartedly that it's most likely going to come from somebody in the school. So one of our students will most likely become another school owner or a teacher, or however it is, that whatever structure we come up with next.
Okay.
But because I'm in a situation where I'm really ready to grow, what do I do?
Okay, no, I run into that all the time. Working with a client on that now, but one of the key things is you have to sort of develop systems and develop a structure, and you have to remember nobody's going to be you.
Right,
so you
can't
that's
the
hire
hardest
yourself.
part for me. I know that's the hardest part.
And rather than hiring someone who can do all those things, because most people are only good at a couple things. As an entrepreneur, you're good at a lot of things, but most people can't.
They can't multitask, right?
So rather than hiring someone expensive to do all those things, you might hire more lower level people that have a more specific job description, because then they can focus on that, do that well. And if you lose somebody, you're only losing a small piece of your organization rather than a whole. That
actually makes sense to me. I mean, it looks like we need, because I'm the teacher, I'm the salesperson, I'm the CEO, I'm the CFO, I'm all, right. So I can't, I have to stop. It's not that I have to stop. I just can't grow anymore. I mean, I can grow more right now, but I can't grow. I'm going to hit a ceiling soon, and I actually believe it's pretty close. So I have to start doing that. So how do I? So as a leader, I mean, I've been a leader before, but as a leader, how do I start dividing that? How do I? Even a better question, right? So like, I've had time where I give something to someone, and at the very beginning, I hand it to them, but it's like I'm handing it to a child, and I'm like, oh, give it back to me. No, here you go. No, give it back to me. No, here. And then eventually I say, I don't even know how to do it anymore because that person's doing it so well. How often do you find people have with that struggle?
Oh, it's very hard because once you've done things and you're used to doing them and seeing them a certain way, it's hard to see someone not doing it that way or letting someone fail, but sometimes they have to fail to learn. So, you have to be able to give people some strings. Sometimes it's not going to work out, but if they don't learn, they're not going to be able to do it as well. And like you said, as you grow your organization, if you get the right people and you give them specific roles, they're going to do it better than you ever could have.
Yeah, and it took me a while to understand that, and I actually believe that. Mm-hmm. And I also realized, here's the other thing. You're struggling, you're a new business, you're struggling, right? And you're the only salesperson. You're the best salesperson you've ever known in your entire life because who else could be better than you, right? So then you had the first deal to the new salesperson, and he doesn't close it. And then you go home going, damn it, I just lost $10,000 or whatever it was, whatever the sale was. I just lost $10,000, and if I wouldn't hire this guy. But that's wrong thinking. That's short-term thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to let people develop. People aren't going to be able to immediately step into the role that you want them to do, and you have to be prepared to do that. And it's hard. That's why a lot of people aren't able to grow their business beyond a certain level.
Yeah, I agree. So what were some business challenges that you ran into?
Run into a lot of business challenges
I love this
a lot of different ways. So I think probably the biggest challenge is, like a lot of other people, I owned property during 2007, 2008.
Oh, sure, I was there.
And I was lucky enough to own property in Florida, which was one of the worst places. So really managing through that situation.
Okay.
And, basically learn a lot, working with banks, working with other owners, ended up being the head of a homeowners association.
Okay.
And really, through sticking to it, I was able to make it through without having to file bankruptcy or other things.
No, I did, by the way.
Most people did.
It was done. I had no choice. I walked into a lawyer's office and said, I got to go bankrupt. I had no choice. But and I'm impressed by the people who didn't. 10 years later, I got to be honest, 10 years later, I'm impressed by the people who didn't. And I'm also impressed by the people who did and knew what to do with that information. A lot of people, they go bankrupt and then their life is over.
Yes.
With me, I went bankrupt the next day. I was like, okay, let's go. Let's start again.
Right.
So it's different for some people, and I get it. In fact, with my case, I just thought that the numbers made sense. I felt it would take 40 years for me to catch back up. And I knew that bankruptcy would catch me up in 5 years.
Right. No, and it's right. I mean, I still have a few things that I'm dealing with as a result. But
you got some properties in Florida? I'll take them.
So, but going through the whole process, seeing it through, coming to resolutions, working with people, building relationships that I never, ever would have been able to do had I not gone through that situation. So,
all right. So I look at a guy like you, and I see an impressive resume like this with all these places you worked. Weren't you making a lot of money?
I was making good money. I mean,
I'm sure.
I spent time, came out of school as a naval officer.
Okay.
Went into corporate, spent a little bit of time in general management, went back to business school, got my MBA from NYU.
Right, sure.
Having a technical engineering background and a business background was great. Spent time in investments and leadership, made good money. But the further I went up, the more I didn't enjoy what I was doing.
Okay.
And got to the point where I wasn't overly fond of the job I had, and I didn't see any jobs that I wanted.
Okay,
so,
cool.
And it depends on you. I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
I started that way.
I understand.
I'm good at a lot of things, and I really like to make a difference and make changes. And working with businesses every day, I'm able to help business owners, help them make more money, help them grow their organization, and there's nothing better than that.
All right. So, people right now, everybody wants to. So, and let's even go back to my business. I think it's even a better example.
Okay.
So eventually, I don't want to teach anymore. I don't want to sell anymore. I just want to sit back and collect checks.
Yes.
Right. Listen, any student listening to this, hey, Ken, can you edit this out? Yeah, okay. No, I mean, eventually that's what I want to do. I mean, but understand, I don't want to take anything away from the students. I mean, I think that's important that they understand that. Now that I just put my foot in my mouth, right? But the reason is, I wanted to expand it to something so big that I can't possibly do these things anymore. But how do people actually do this? How do they create a sustainable business model that they could sit back? I mean, look, McDonald's is awesome, right? Everybody makes the same exact hamburger every place. They almost taste the same everywhere. How does it go from this one little hamburger stand with these three brothers? I think it was three brothers who owned it, right?
Right.
To becoming this incredible franchise. How do you go there?
It's not an easy path, but it all begins with a plan and a strategy. You need to know that's what you want, and you need to have a clear assessment of where you are and what your resources are. One of the biggest challenges is it's hard to invest the money. Like McDonald's invests money in training and people before they even come to work.
That's a good point. I like that.
They have continuing training and development, and they make sure that people understand the business, what it's all about. They have systems, so everybody knows what they're supposed to do. In small businesses,
good point.
Everybody does everything.
See, it's funny. In my business, we have the systems are all designed around getting the person into the door and making sure that that all the systems work for them to pay and make sure that they can get all the access to all the information that they need. The only systems we don't have, believe it or not, is the teaching.
Okay.
So, and when I say that, I mean we teach incredible information,
right?
But most of the time, we don't even know what we're going to teach until the day we're going to teach it. And I think that's probably the next place we need to work. So let me know if you can help us with that, because that would be awesome.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's what I do. Help create structure and lay out the plan.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to invest, and you have to be willing to change.
Look around. Do you think I'm willing to invest?
Well, no. I mean, definitely. I see that you do, but not all small business owners are willing.
No,
to
and
do
that's a big thing. So talk to me about social media. What your thoughts are on it? Why people do it, and how they should be doing it.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I look at social media as a tool rather than a strategy. At the end, you have to have your marketing strategy first. Know who your target market is. Know what your value proposition is first. From there, then you can figure out, okay, how do I reach the target market? What do I say to the target market? Where is the target market? Mm-hmm. That's where your tools come in. And social media is one of the tools, but it depends on where your target market is. Some target markets are on the social side and it works, but many are not. So it depends on what you're offering, and you also want to have a cross section. There's, there's the old, a lot of old practices work,
absolutely.
And they're practices because they work.
And the best part about the old practices that work, a lot of people stop doing them, and you're the only one doing it, which makes it work. I mean, I'm a big fan of snail mail, and no one's doing it anymore, so mine's the only letter they get.
Right. So, you have to be creative. Social media, I find it's very difficult to sell, but it's good for, I use it to build relationships.
Sure.
Connect with people, continue to stay in contact with them, let them know what you're doing, know what they're doing. But I don't recommend using it for sales specifically unless you have a certain specific product that kind of you're showing and it's kind of sells itself.
Gotcha. So we got about 1 minute. Why don't you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what they can do for you, what your website is, et cetera.
Okay, great. The best way to reach me is through my website, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, same as my book.
Wait. Your website is runningyoursmallbusinesslikeapro.com?
Yes, it is.
That's a lot of typing.
Well, it's also Small Business Like a Pro.
Oh, I like that. Okay, good. Okay.
So there's different ways, but the full site is Running Your Small Business Like a Pro.
Excellent. And they can reach you any other way?
Email Andrew at smallbusinesslikeapro.com.
Okay.
And LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn.
Excellent.
Love to connect with people on LinkedIn to learn about them.
Can they get your book on Amazon?
My book is available on Amazon, paperback as well as ebook, and working on getting out an audiobook
cool.
by this summer.
Very cool. All right, I'll tell you what. Wave to everybody. Goodbye.
All right.
It was awesome to have you. I'm so excited for you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks for having me.